Apartment manager doesn't take cash for 2 cents bill. Malicious compliance ensues, by user Lentesta. In 2019 I moved from an apartment complex in Celebration, Florida, to a condo. As usual, when you move out of an apartment, you get a final bill, which includes your last month's prorated rent, deductions for damages, security deposit refunds, and the like. We paid it. The next month I get a call from my wife who says we've got a follow-up bill in the mail from the apartment management company, for 2 cents. We're both in the tech field, so we laughed that this company's IT department didn't catch the edge case of spending 50 cents in postage to collect 2 cents in revenue. But it happens. My wife prints out a copy of the bill. I grab 2 cents from the change jar. The apartment complex is on my daily drive, so I swing by the office. I walk in and tell the manager that I want to pay my last bill. I say it's 2 cents. Here's the bill, and I have the 2 cents if you want it. The manager says we don't take cash. Nothing else. There was an awkward pause. I say I don't expect you to take cash. I expect us both to have a laugh about how silly computer systems are, and for you to write off the 2 cents, because it cost you more to process the payment. She says I'm not going to do that. Again, awkward pause. I say so you want me to write you a check, for 2 cents. And mail it? And you're going to process that check? The manager says yes, send us a check and we'll process it, and then walks back into her office to end the conversation. So I go home and set up an automatic, monthly bank payment to my apartment complex. For 3 cents. And then, because I'm a programmer, I write some code to send a letter once per month, saying I'm so sorry, I've overpaid my bill. Please send me a check for the overpayment. And I use an online service that sends postcards in ridiculous sizes, up to around 18x24, figuring that'll be my escalation strategy. The first of the next month, I get a call from the apartment company's regional manager. After introducing himself, the next 2 minutes were the most sincere, "Oh God, we made a mistake, please don't do this, we'll never contact you again" apology anyone could have hoped for. I stopped the mail and never heard from them again. Did I spend several hours on MC for 2 cents? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Boss told me I couldn't take a smoke break if I wasn't smoking, by user Kajit Kendi. I first started working at 17 as a housekeeper cleaning condos in downtown Toronto. It wasn't a bad gig. The building was under construction, finishing units and such, so there was quite a bit of dust, but other than that it was fairly easy work, and at the time I was getting above minimum wage. I was the only cleaner in the building, but I was good friends with the security guards and would hang out with them on most of my breaks. They were all smokers and I noticed that they were taking small breaks, so if I happened to be near them when they were taking a smoke break I would hang out with them. My boss was a sweet guy, but he did casually mention that the smoke breaks for smokers only and I couldn't just hang out with them. Next break I sat down with the security guards and they joked that I should just have a cigarette in my hand but not actually smoke it. That's when I decided to be a little bit creative with my malicious compliance. The next day I came into work with a small pack of sparklers. I kept them in my pocket, and when I saw the security guards taking a smoke break I went out with them, pulled out a sparkler, lit it up and just kind of stood there with them as the sparkler went off. We all had a good chuckle about it. The boss saw me and came outside, probably to talk to me about not taking a smoke break if I wasn't a smoker, but he saw the sparkler in my hand. The security guards pointed out that technically I was smoking as the sparkler was producing little bits of smoke. The boss laughed it off, apologized, and said that as long as I get my work done I can take smoke breaks with the others with or without the sparklers. My cousin thought she was being so clever. It did not work out for her, by user Lady Bladewarangel. So here's a malicious compliance story that made my family laugh for years, and still does. A good few years back, I was about 24 to 25 years old, I went to Cyprus with my grandparents to visit relatives. My grandparents originally came from there and moved to the UK when they were like 16. My cousin, 14 female, also came along. Now it's important to mention that we're Greek Cypriots. Certain things are expected when we visit relatives, such as helping out with things if we can, and offering our help for whatever our host might be doing. It's also worth mentioning that I have a sight problem, but I'm extremely independent in spite of it. So we were visiting relatives, and every time I offered to help out, either taking dishes into the kitchen, bringing them out of the kitchen, washing up, even getting a glass of water, I kept being told to sit down, they could handle it. I didn't understand why, as I'm perfectly capable. I thought it might be to do with my eyes. One day we were visiting a great auntie of ours, who owns a little summer home by the sea, not too far from where we were staying. Now when we visit this auntie, I always go swimming. She's literally not even a couple of minutes away from the sea. Now as I went to offer my help to my great aunt, I hear my 14-year-old cousin talking to her in Greek. Another important note, I can't string together a sentence in Greek. My father is English and had something against us speaking Greek. But although I'm not a fluent speaker, I can read, write, and understand Greek. My family doesn't know this. They assume that because I'm not a fluent speaker, that they can basically hide their conversations between other people. My cousin was telling my great aunt how clumsy I am. How stupid I am. How I'm a little, soft in the head. She was saying it in Greek. She thought I couldn't understand her. But I knew exactly what she was saying, even if I couldn't string sentences together myself, I knew what she was saying about me. I added 2 and 2 together, and realized my cousin was very obviously telling all my relatives this. She did it, because she thought she'd get praised if she helped bring out the food without me. I was angry, but I knew the perfect revenge. We ate lunch, and after we were finished eating, my great aunt asked my cousin for her help to take the dishes in, and do the washing up, as she'd been on her feet most of the morning, preparing the food. My cousin looked at me, knowing my great aunt couldn't speak English, and said, "Hey OP, Auntie needs help taking the plates in and doing the washing up." Because now, she was bored, and expected to run off to the beach and leave me doing the hard work of cleaning up after. So I looked at her and said, "But I'm too stupid and clumsy, and soft in the head, to help Auntie out. Besides, she asked for your help. Not mine." She went pale, realizing I knew what she'd said. But she doubled down. "I helped bring everything out. You could help take it all in." I laughed at her, picked up the book I'd brought with me, and got up from the table. Grabbed the towel I brought with me, and went to walk off. My cousin started whining to my grandparents that I wasn't helping her. My grandmother looked at her and said, "You made your bed. Now you lie in it. Your cousin caught you lying about her, and now she can go to the beach, while you help your aunt." My cousin went completely white then. So I went to the beach. Swam for 30 minutes, then chilled out on a deck chair, reading my book under the shade of a nice umbrella. By the time my grandparents called to me that we were heading home, my cousin had spent all of it helping to wash up, and dry things, and put them away. She hadn't gotten to be lazy and go to the beach, to enjoy the sea. I could have helped her. I simply decided that I wouldn't, as she never earned my help. Since then, every time we went to a relative's home, and she was asked to help, I watched with a smirk on my face. To this day, I'm 37 this year, I still won't help her. She made out I was incapable to people. So now she suffers the consequences. It's the malicious compliance that keeps on giving to me. Answers to some common questions. 1. I was born with congenital cataracts and I'm 85% blind. 2. This didn't actually start out as something to carry on for years. I don't actually carry it on myself either. It started out as a consequences for her actions type lesson. The family picked it up, because she wouldn't admit to the lie, and no one liked her lying. They don't actually make her do extra chores when I'm not there, as the whole thing started because she said I was incapable, so the family basically told her she had to help out her incapable cousin. 3. The family carried it on until this point, because she refuses to admit to the lie. To this day, over a decade later, she still says that I'm incapable, clumsy, soft in the head, to any relatives that will listen. She's now a full-grown adult, who refuses to let go of the lie, so the family has kept up her narrative, because she won't let it go. Shut the F***ck up, get in the truck and do what you're told. You got it, by user Canadian Cosmicentity. So I live in a pretty small city by American standards in Canada, 250,000 people. People joke that it's a giant small town, and it's hard to go somewhere without knowing someone who either knows you or heard of you. I run a small contracting business that maintains properties for seniors, think grass mowing, tree trimming, etc. In the winter there isn't a lot going on, so I lay off the summer crew and usually bounce around to different companies to help them with their snow removal. I hold a CDL as well as equipment operator license among others, so most of the larger companies know me and are more than happy to have me around. Over the weekend I was called by the biggest company in my city to help with hauling snow to the city snow dump, a gravy job, and lots of hours. I had never worked with their crew but quickly got along with everyone but the company grump, which was expected. Of course the company grump is the one working on the weekend loading trucks. After the first location he gave me some cash to get us coffee. I meet him at the next location and hand him his drink. He takes a drink and noticed it's wrong. He gets out of the bobcat and throws the full extra large coffee into the distance, getting caught by the wind, spraying me with liquid, all while cursing me out. I decided to let it go. Everyone has been working long hours and well, some people in construction are just giant man children. I offered to grab him another coffee and he declined. I went back to my truck to drink my coffee and talk to the other driver in my truck when the operator comes over to our truck to bitch at us about his coffee. After I offered to get him another. Shortly after I realized I had his change in my pocket, knowing this guy I better return it. I walk over to the bobcat to give him his money and let him know if he did that again there would be problems. We had a few words before he told me to shut the fuck up, get back in my truck and do what I was told, and if I did, stuff like that wouldn't happen. So I did, I went back to my truck and did as I was told. Little did the operator know, he's been on thin ice and I was told by his boss to let him know if we had problems with him. Furious I jumped in my truck, called his boss and went home. Not even 20 minutes later I get a call from his boss telling me they fired him and begging me to come back. Moral of the story is treat each other with respect, especially in the workplace. Edit, for those wondering I'm in IB, I grossly overestimated our population, according to Google we're between 80k people and 150k. 10,000 steps a day or else, by Useronarch. Years ago, long before smartphones or Fitbits, a co-worker of mine, Bob, had a relatively mild heart attack. We joked in secret that it was caused by his wife, but the other secret is, we weren't really joking. She was awful. She was just an intolerable person, and no one liked her. I'm pretty sure Bob didn't like his own wife. If he did, it was probably Stockholm Syndrome. At any rate, when Bob returned to work, he returned with a pedometer clipped to his belt. Every day, Bob would walk as much as he could when he wasn't pinned down to his desk, but he was suffering and his work was suffering. As his supervisor at the time, I figured he was struggling with his recovery, so we just moved a lot of his work to others and left him with the cases he specialized in. That worked for everyone, because those cases drove others nuts and he was a whiz at them. His other work was comparatively easy. However, at the end of his first full week back the issue became more clear. I overheard Bob's wife berating him in the parking lot because he didn't even meet half of his steps goal. Turns out, the pedometer didn't come from his doctor, it came from his wife. She was demanding that Bob increase from his current 4,200 steps a day that were almost killing him to somehow 10,000 steps a day. This will read at least 10,000 at the end of every workday, or it'll be your ass, were her words. Now, Bob was a tall guy with a long stride, so she was somehow expecting him to fit in over 6 miles of walking during his workday while recovering. But you know, since he'd had a heart attack, maybe she was just looking out for him, right? Nope. His doctor had actually cautioned him against overdoing it. He was only supposed to be walking 1.5 miles a day, and not all at once. But his wife wasn't having it. She demanded more, and he tried but wasn't doing so well. After another week of this, and another chewing out in the parking lot, we developed a plan. Bob's pedometer just sat on the corner of his desk while he was working. If anyone had to walk down the hall or to the other building, they'd grab the pedometer on their way out of the office. Bob did have to tolerate another couple of ass chewings, because we ramped him up to 10,000 steps instead of jumping straight there. We figured that would be suspicious otherwise. In the end, Bob got his 10,000 steps every day. Well, Bob's pedometer registered over 10,000 steps every day, and almost 1/3 of them were actually his steps. Bob was overjoyed to have the help, and we were all willing to keep the secret, because we were frightened of her turning on us. Teamwork makes the dream work.